everybody, and welcome back to the Blue Jays Today show. Where today, guys, we got basically the same stuff we have like we usually are talking about on the Blue Jays Today show, which is who the hell are the Blue Jays going to sign this time? What has kind of changed and transpired in last week? And also looking at some former Blue Jays that actually might be coming back to the Blue Jays if the deal is right. We're going to get into it all and more. I'm your host, Adam Peddle.
And I'm your host, Nicholas Playalog, and it is kind of the same book as we've been talking about, folks. The Blue Jays are in on somebody, they miss out on somebody. That happened again this week. We're hoping that is going to be the last time that this happens this offseason, because if it happens anymore this offseason, then there is going to be no one left to miss out on, and you're just going to be full shit out of luck. So we are really hoping that that's going to be the last time that we feel that pain. Before we get into it, folks, quick shout out to all of you guys watching, 67 people in here right now. Please, if you haven't already done so, hit the like, smash the subscribe button, comment your thoughts down below. Also participate in the poll that I have going on right here. I just posted that. We're gonna touch on that at the end of this live stream. Currently, a lot of people are thinking that 88 to 94 wins is where the Toronto Blue Jays are going to sit. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit later, dude.
Yeah, and if you guys are listening on our audio podcast, guys, make sure to add us on Twitter, add us on Instagram, whatever you guys have, and tell us how many wins you think the Blue Jays are going to be getting this year.
So let's talk about the first name here, which is going to be Joc Pederson. And this is a player who I would argue like a week and a half ago, it felt like for sure he was going to be a Toronto Blue Jay. Now, it wasn't the same levels of hype that you had around Shohei Ohtani or Cody Bellinger or any of those guys, but everyone on Twitter was effectively tweeting stuff out like, Joc Pederson, you are a Toronto Blue Jay, because all of it made sense, right? You're looking for that veteran bat. You're looking for a guy to come in to fill that DH outfield role. You're looking for a little bit of pop. You're looking for some slug. You're looking for the lefty, right? You're looking for all of these things. Joc Pederson checked all of those boxes. And you also got reports coming out from analysts saying, Blue Jays are in on him. Blue Jays are talking to him. Blue Jays want to get this guy. Spoiler alert, Blue Jays did not get this guy.
No, goes over to the Diamondbacks, stealing another one of our favorite players away from us, the guy who never was a Blue Jay, but hopefully in our minds, honestly, was kind of a Blue Jay. I personally was tweeting a lot saying, I really love this guy. Top 4 like favorite bats left for the Blue Jays, and like power ranked them. I had JD Martinez number 1, then I had Joc Pederson number 2, Soler number 3. Now I know a lot of you guys on Twitter, and I think the majority, just from my perspective, want Soler over all those guys, right? A week ago when all of them were free agents. And I had to disagree, because when you look at Soler's numbers and you look at Joc Pederson's numbers, yeah, Soler's got the big pop with the bat, the big home run potential. But again, Pederson being the lefty, yeah, he's not good defensively, but I mean, is Soler really that good defensively either? So for me, it just felt like, well, if you're going to get a guy with a similar OPS, you might as well put him on the left side of the plate. That's why I had him number 2. So yeah, for me, it was a big loss. It was a big loss, but I got to give, I guess, somewhat credit to Ross Atkins in the front office for going out and actually trying, because apparently Buster Olney...
I disagree hard with you on that one, but keep going.
Okay. I was going to say, got to give him credit, because apparently they went hard. They went hard for Joc Pederson. Now, why you disagree? Because they didn't actually get it done?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, sure, how many times are we going to give them credit for going hard, right?
Well,
what does that even mean?
Exactly, what does that mean? Does that mean they offered up, like, everything to this guy, and then he just said, nah, I'm not going?
Well, I promise you that didn't happen, because if they offered up everything to this guy, I assume Joc Pederson's not a complete fool, so if they offered up everything to this guy, he's coming.
Here's the thing. Joc Pederson, like, you know, when we talked about Ohtani, about geography, that didn't matter for him. For Joc Pederson, where has he spent most of his career, right? He spent it out west, right? With San Fran, with the Dodgers, and now he's with Arizona. He's still out west. So for me, even if there was a little bit of a competitive pay offer, I feel like this dude would be like, well, maybe if it's a little bit less, it's $12.5 million that I'm signing for. I think Jays would absolutely smash that. He would be like, well, I'm going to go play with Arizona, who actually went to the World Series and is similar area to where I'm used to. You know what I mean?
I understand.
That's my thing.
I understand what you're saying. I hear where you're coming from. But at the same point, I watch the Toronto Blue Jays, and I watch Espinal go hard. Is that enough for me to say that, you know what, well done, Espinal, good work, buddy, good work, you did your best, you went hard, stay on the team? No, I mean, there comes an element, there comes a part of it where, yes, you do need to go hard, yes, you do need to give your best effort, and that's always going to be respected, but that's also expected of you, and at some point, you got to get the job done. So if it's not going to be Joc Pederson, it's not going to be Ohtani, and it's not going to be Cody Bellinger, I understand that you went out and you got IKF and you got Yariel Rodriguez. I like Yariel Rodriguez. But if it's not going to be any of those guys, sure, you can go hard, but we do need to get the job done one of these times.
I agree with you, and I will come over to your side if the job isn't done, because there's still guys out there. That's the thing. There's still JD Martinez. There's still Soler. There's still Justin Turner. Hell, there's even still Cody Bellinger, Matt Chapman. I don't think we're close on those guys, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But there's still guys out there. So if they offered something, I really think, and I'm just speaking on my ass based on what I'm assuming, that the $12.5 million down in Arizona, we were probably competing in more money than that. And that's my guess, because you got taxes, you got to compete getting them moving all the way across the continent, right, to come up play for Toronto, go to a new country. So I assume it's probably more money, but in order to get the job done and get Pederson, you probably had to offer even more. So for me, it felt like, well, if we're going to offer that much money, we might as well get someone like a Soler that might be a little bit more, or maybe even a Martinez, like maybe someone a little bit more favorable, and they kind of let him go.
If they go out and do that.
If that was the case.
Again, like, this is assuming that the Toronto Blue Jays are going to go out and they are going to finish the job with this. But I guess I'm just having a hard time here looking at this entire offseason as a whole and actually convincing myself that they are going to go and do it. Because right now, they are the odds-on favorite to sign Jorge Soler. That is what is being talked about right now. The Toronto Blue Jays are considered to be heavy favorites right here. I mean, you had John Heyman come out and you said it. You had multiple other analysts come out and say it, that Jorge Soler is going to be the guy. But that's what they said about Joc Pederson literally a week ago.
That's what they said about Ohtani.
Exactly. Yes, I've transitioned, and I am totally okay if Jorge Soler is going to be that guy. I, too, probably would have preferred Joc Pederson. But you know what? I'm not going to be picky here. I'm totally cool with Jorge Soler. But I don't know how I can actively buy into that when we are going hard for these guys and still not getting it done. So if we're not getting it done with these other... Like, what's going to be different about him? That's an actual question. Yeah. What is going to be different about him if we can't get that?
The only thing I could offer is like, well, I mean, there'll be less competition. There will be less competition. That's all I can really say. The more guys leave, and it's shitty because we're going to get the leftovers. And a lot of y'all have been saying, like, yeah, Jays are going to get the runs of the litter. They're going to get the leftovers, the unwanted players, right? And that's kind of what it's looking like this offseason. We got kind of the leftover, not to discredit Yariel Rodriguez, but we got kind of the leftover, international free agent signing. The last guy on the board. You know what I mean? We literally got the bottom of the barrel in IKF. We got him a little bit early, but I would have imagined if no one else picked up on him, he probably would have gone later too. We're kind of getting the bottom of the barrel. And why is that happening? Fuck, you're good. Your guess is as good as mine, bro.
I'm having a difficult time convincing myself that Soler is going to be different when I hear that we're going hard. Because actually, I think I would have preferred that we were going soft. If you were ever going to say that, if they were just kind of doing it, because at least then I could tell myself, okay, we didn't give 100% on Joc Pederson because we were saving up to get Jorge Soler.
Right.
Now we're going to give 100%. Now we're going to get it done.
So what do you think the term going hard for Joc Pederson was? Like, what do you imagine would that be?
I think that they were in it to the end. I think, again, they were one of the finalists. They were talking with him right up until the end, and inevitably he ended up going to Arizona. Right, I truly believe that that's what happened.
Because there could be look, as much as we think that we, GMs have a lot of control, at the end of the day, you can't control where Joc Pederson wants to play baseball.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Of course not. Of course you can't do that, and I fully understand that he's his own guy, and hell, if I had to choose between the team that went to the World Series last year or the team that has not won a playoff game.
The team that traded away some of their best players over to that team, and then they signed back with that team, and they're going to have a running back of the very same squad. Yeah.
Exactly. I totally understand it from Joc Pederson's perspective. But again, we do need to play within the confines of who we are, where we're located, what we've done in the past, our budget, and at some point or another, you're going to have to find a way to convince one of these guys to say yes. So whatever it is that you're doing right now is good enough to get to that final conversation, but we're not pushing it across the line here. And eventually during this offseason, we got to move the needle across the line.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough because, I mean, there's still, like I said, maybe there's some less competition. Maybe that gives me a little more confidence that they're going to get some deal done. But there's still the Boston Red Sox in the mix, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Any team in the world would want JD Martinez. Any team that wants a DH would get JD Martinez. And yeah, it's good between us and the Boston Red Sox. I think so. That's the fact that it's between us and another East Coast team gives me a little bit more confidence, because when you have Arizona, great, warm state out west, great culture. And then you go over to Canada, and if I'm, thinking if I play my whole life out west, I'm like, damn, that's a far change. Whereas if you're between Boston and Toronto, there's not much difference geographically speaking.
Right.
So there could be a bit of an equal in that competition.
I will also say too, Jorge Soler, for instance, for him, he's been around the block. He's been to a lot of different teams, right? He's played on a lot of different
Miami.
squads. Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, maybe the fact that he has moved around so much, maybe geography is not as big of a factor for him. That could be an element, right?
Yep.
So I'm just trying to find ways right now to talk myself into believing that this is going to be a different story than what we've had. Because I love all of the news reports that come out and say that the Toronto Blue Jays are the guys right now.
Yeah.
And John Heyman coming out and saying that we're the dudes. And the fact that Arizona is out of the race, and the fact that Seattle is out of the race, and the fact that it really does look like it's coming down between us and between the Boston Red Sox, that makes me feel good. But what is going to push it over the line? Maybe the fact that he's played everywhere.
Dude, I think here's the reality. I think you need the player to just believe in the Toronto Blue Jays. What's been the difference between this offseason and the last few off seasons? There was hype around the Toronto Blue Jays. There was hope. Oh, they got these young guys. They're right there. They got all the pieces. What the hell? They had the pieces last year, and you didn't do anything better than you did the previous season. So I think some of these players, when they're deciding, okay, they got all these factors, geography, money, all these different things coming down into play. There's also the winning culture.
Yeah.
And the winning culture is starting to slip away, and you have big name free agents who, they have all the money in the world. They can go and choose wherever they want to go and play, but then they also want to win. Maybe that isn't a fact. Maybe that's being a negative towards the Blue Jays, how they performed the last couple of years.
I do hear you right there, and I think there's a lot of truth to that, right? And when you're just comparing apples to apples here, the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Toronto Blue Jays, I mean, Arizona, they're in a tough division too. They got a juggernaut in that division, so they're going to have a tough team to deal with. So do the Toronto Blue Jays. But when you look at those two squads, one of them was capable of doing it in the playoffs, and one of them wasn't, right?
And one of them's looking much younger, entering their prime.
Yeah.
They entered their prime in their first year, and they went to the World Series. The upside.
It's true.
Incredible.
Yeah. And I mean, when you do that and you go into these meetings with these free agents, that's your argument. Your argument is, well, you're going to be the guy that's going to make us win those additional games in the World Series, and we're coming home with a ring.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Whereas when you're the Toronto Blue Jays, your argument is, well, you're the guy that's going to make us score a run in the wild card series and maybe not get swept.
Yep.
Right? Look, I don't feel like I'm getting real down on the Blue Jays right here, but it is just extremely frustrating when you go from player to player to player and you're losing out to all these other teams. And I do think that hype has something to do with it. LA Dodgers, of course. They're going to have more hype than the Toronto. Yeah, they're going to have more
and
money
they won a lot of games last year. And they're always going to be in the mix. I mean, the last decade, they've been in the playoffs every year. So of course you're going to have the hype around there. So with that all being said, a couple fun questions. Maybe some of you guys can answer it in the chat. Who we signing? What's your updated prediction right now? Are you thinking it's going to be Soler? You think it's going to be someone different? What do you think? Yeah.
Well, look, at this point of the game, I'm going to hope that it's going to be Jorge Soler. I'm going to hope that it's going to be JD Martinez. But realistically, if somebody came to you and said, well, are the Toronto Blue Jays going to sign Jorge Soler, JD Martinez, or are they, Matt Chapman, Cody Bellinger, or they're not going to sign any of them?
Yeah. What
does that line look like from a betting standpoint? What does that look like? Right? Yeah. When you're looking at history right now, when you watch a team go 0-1, 0-2, 0-3, 0-4, to then assume that they're going to go 1-4.
Keep betting. We got to hope they're going to hit eventually.
That's literally what this is.
Yeah.
That's literally what this comes down to. So I fully understand the fact that, okay, there's less competition, which means that the Toronto Blue Jays should be in a more favorable spot, which is totally true. But it's difficult to say that, they're absolutely going to get any of these dudes at this point, just based on what we've seen. So I'm going to hope, and I'm going to tweet out, and I'm going to pray, and I'm going to make videos on the fact that they might maybe one day get Jorge Soler and JD Martinez and Cody Bellinger and Matt Chapman and one of those players, and that would be great for this team, and they're going to bring some thump to the line. They're going to bat fourth on this team. They're going to bat fifth on this team. It's going to be great. I don't know if I can actually truly believe it anymore when we're going hard in the paint for Joc Pederson and we're not getting it done.
Yeah, most likely at this point, it's Jorge Soler. You're seeing it literally everywhere from literally every MLB analyst, but why hasn't it been done yet? Why hasn't it been done yet? What are we waiting for? Is there more competition? Is there more conversations happening? If we don't get Jorge Soler, it's a failure. I really don't think you really get anybody else. Because, I mean, I love JD Martinez. I don't know if he's going to... I don't know. It just doesn't feel like a right fit. We haven't been around that conversation too often in this offseason. I mean, Justin Turner is cool and all. We're going to bring him up soon in this video. It's cool and all, but again, you bring in IKF. That doesn't feel right either. You're not getting Cody Bellinger. You're not getting Matt Chapman. Those are very, far distant conversations. If you don't get Jorge Soler, you don't get anybody, in my opinion.
It's very possible, dude. Guys, let us know in the comments down below. The Toronto Blue Jays going to get one of these guys, or are they not? That is the point that we're at in this offseason. A week ago, I would have said Joc Pederson for sure. Now, we don't know. Quick shout out to the sponsor of this video.
Whoa! Time for your daily Betway breather. A quick reminder that the best place to bet is on Betway. Must be 19 years of age or older to play. In collaboration with iGaming Ontario, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
Shout out and thank you to Betway. If you guys are sports bettors, make sure you check out Betway. I saw one of you guys' comments in here. Nick's looking up right now. John Morosi tweeting about 40 minutes ago.
Okay.
All right. This is some breaking news.
The pot again, folks. We didn't intend to talk about this, but you bet that we're gonna. John Morosi came out 42 minutes ago now, and he said, just likes to stir the pot.
Oh, you know he loves it.
The Blue Jays have, I love this word, because what does this mean? What does this, what does this actually mean?
Yeah,
the Blue Jays have sincere interest.
Oh, that's a new word.
Yeah.
That's a new word.
It's
sincere. We really want
What a way to describe, we're at that point in the offseason, because, he said it so many different ways, but we're at this point in the offseason where it's now we got to make it, it's really sincere, it's truthful this time,
Yeah.
Sincere interest in free agents JD Martinez and Justin Turner, whom Bo Bichette mentioned in a recent Fan 590 interview. Martinez 880 OPS, Turner 766. Both produced against right-handed pitchers last year, which overrides the Blue Jays' slight preference to add left-handed hitters.
Hey, I mean, I'll take back that comment of the Blue Jays apparently have not been showing interest in JD Martinez, because that kind of dispels it there. But also, what the hell does that mean? Sincere interest. Oh, hey, JD. Look, we really, really appreciate this conversation. It would mean the world. Genuinely mean the world for you to come over to Toronto and help us out.
Yeah.
We really think that would be really special.
For real, yeah. Please, don't hurt our feelings. What's going on here, man? Seriously though. But I mean, I think that there's truth to what he's saying. I do actually believe that the Toronto Blue Jays have interest in JD Martinez and have interest in Justin Turner. I think that he's putting the word sincere there to make it seem like it's news. Like we didn't already know this, because we knew this. The big problem here is that whether or not they're actually going to cross the finish line, because they've had sincere interest in Pederson and Ohtani and Bellinger and you name it. And they've had sincere interest. I promise you, it was never insincere. They just went again hard in the paint for Joc Pederson. That's what happened there. That must have been sincere.
I'm just trying to picture an insincere conversation with JD Martinez about playing for us.
Is that even a word? Is insincere a word?
I don't know, rude, not genuine. You know what I mean?
Like
with JD Martinez. Hey man, come over here, but fuck you if you don't.
Yeah.
What the hell?
No. So okay, realistically, guys, John Morosi stirring the pot a little bit. We already knew it was transpiring here. They do like Martinez. They do like Justin Turner. I like both of them. Both of them. We don't know whether or not they're actually going to acquire these guys because, like we said, they just have not been coming up with hits so far this offseason. Speaking of Justin Turner, though, his decision is supposed to be coming soon. Now, again, this is John Morosi here. I feel like whenever you're quoting John Morosi at this point, you just need to qualify and just say this was the plain guy, right? So that needs to be said. But he did come out and say that Justin Turner's free agent decision is increasingly likely to occur this week. His market is helped by the fact that multiple large market teams, Giants, Mets, Blue Jays, Cubs, are looking to add an impact corner infielder. Justin Turner has been a player that we've been interested in for a while. We like him. He's a veteran. Thoughts on him making his decision very soon?
I'll pull up his stats. I mean, thoughts on his decision coming very soon is about fucking time. Let's go. I think that's going to be all my thoughts whenever a player makes a decision. But look, I mean, we talked about him before. We've talked about him here and there, but he's always felt like the lower of the totem pole needs for the Toronto Blue Jays. But when you really circle back to it, damn, like this guy can be that nice Band-Aid solution there for third base. I mean, IKF was kind of that role, so getting him and Turner feels really weird. Like there has to be a trade coming soon if that was to happen. But I will never say no to this guy, Justin Turner, who last year for the Boston Red Sox had an OPS of 800. He's going to do his job, man. He's going to show up every day, be that veteran presence. That's the reason why Bo Bichette talked about him in that Blair and Barker interview, because he literally knows him. And playing against him in Boston, obviously there's conversations and talks going around. Even if you didn't talk to him directly, you watch guys in your division, how they prepare and how they do their work. You see them on the field. You might have comments there. You know what kind of impact they do. You know when a guy puts up an impact kind of at-bat every single day. And that's exactly what he does. He fights every single at-bat. So give me that 276 batting average with an 800 OPS, and hell, drives in 96 runs at age 38.
Yeah.
I talk about JD Martinez driving in runs. This dude drove in 96.
That was actually a career high for him.
That's a career high at 38.
Wow.
Screw age. I just watched Moneyball the last night. Screw age. It doesn't matter. Those numbers is all that matters. Age ain't a factor. I want Justin Turner. What about you? What are you thinking?
Of course I want Justin Turner, dude. I mean, we've talked about him time and time again, being a guy that just continues to do it. Do you think that there is more likely to be a trade if they bring in Justin Turner over JD Martinez or Jorge Soler?
Yeah,
just because of the third
infielder.
base positioning?
Yeah, I mean, look at your depth charts now, because I think you can look at third base specifically. In this situation where you do bring in Justin Turner, you'd have Justin Turner. Then you could argue, IKF is right there. You could also have Biggio and Schneider right there, and Espinal. That's 5 guys on the depth chart for third. And they look over at second. Justin Turner wouldn't be here. But you got to imagine some of those lower guys are going to move up on that second base depth chart. It will be Biggio, it will be Schneider, and it'll be Espinal. So for me, Espinal is 5th. And also, you could probably say IKF could play a little bit of second base too. So maybe IKF's in there. But Espinal would essentially be 5th and 4th if you're putting IKF.
He's last
there.
On the totem pole.
He's last on both.
Yeah.
He's never going to see an at-bat. And it's not like his bat's going to be warranting him to get in the lineup at all. It's his defensive position. Like, if you don't send him down, which I think is the worst decision, because now you play this guy in arbitration year, and he's going to, be in the minors for you, and you're going to burn his options? Like, that doesn't make any sense. This guy provides value for any other team out there, maybe a rebuilding team looking for a second baseman, a couple years left. He provides a little bit of value for your club. I think you've got to trade that guy. And I really point him out. Could be Biggio, could be Schneider, you never know. But I really point him out just because of where he is on the depth chart.
Well, I'm starting to wonder about, whether there's just going to be a trade in general if they manage to bring one of these dudes in. Because, yes, they're not necessarily going to be at that third base bag. And I do think that there is more reason to move on from somebody if you bring in Justin Turner. But then you're missing out on a spot in the lineup. And I think that Jorge Soler or JD Martinez or whichever guy you're talking about, they're going to command a spot in that lineup every single day. I'm also just finding it hard to see how Santiago Espinal, barring significant injuries on the Toronto Blue Jays, is going to find his way into that lineup. There's not going to be any DH spot for him ever. No. So the only time that he's ever going to do it is if he's going to be playing second base or third base. Dude. And it just doesn't seem like there's going to be a whole lot of opportunities for that.
Dude, I kind of broke down Espinal's role a few weeks ago in a video room, because essentially you're always going to want to have that, what's a great example? Ernie Clement spot in the lineup, right? You want to have that, Heineman coming up, the guys that are going to be coming up through AAA.
Players that can rotate back and forth.
Exactly. And essentially what you're doing is, if you bring in another bat, like an impact bat that's going to play, Espinal becomes that role. You're gonna tell me you start sending Espinal down to the minor leagues and burning his options? What does that do? That ruins his entire value.
Totally.
You get rid of all his options. He's literally worth nothing, and you're paying a few $1 million to this guy because of his arbitration years. He would serve so much value to the Toronto Blue Jays organization if he was sent over in another direction and brought back a package.
Yeah, and it just feels like those type of that role needs to be reserved for a young guy. That role can't be a dude who's been in the major leagues for a few years and now he's gonna start doing that.
Yeah, for me, it's got to be a guy who you're willing to burn their contract.
Yeah,
because you don't want to do it to Barger. No, you don't want to do it to Elvis Martinez. You want to burn that options with someone like no offense, Otto Lopez, love him, good Canadian guy, but like Otto Lopez, like he's been on the fringe for years. The time's starting to, clock's starting to tick for him a little bit. Like maybe that's his role with the organization. Maybe you're okay with committing to that because he's not really a top prospect for us anymore.
Yeah, I just feel like if you're going to bring in one of these guys, like we're literally never going to see Santiago Espinal. And I'd actually even be okay if it wasn't going to be him that gets moved, because I still like Santiago Espinal as a player, right? So like we're just singling him out because it does feel like he would be the guy. But even if they did want to move on from Biggio, or they did want to move on from Schneider, or any, you name someone, if they did want to move on from him, I would understand, just because there is such a logjam, and it just gives other players an opportunity to be able to get in here and be able to get regular reps. And I just feel like that's never going to happen for at least one of those guys in that mix.
Yeah, it is what
like
it is.
Basically, whoever starts slow at the beginning of this year, right, you're not going to see that guy anymore, because like then the other guys are going to take over, and that's going to be their job moving forward.
And here's the problem. Look, I'm all for competition within the 26-man roster, but you got to be able to have them get a space to compete.
Yeah.
If you're a 3, 4, 5 guys competing for one spot in the lineup, man, that is just not going to be good, because it starts to become counterintuitive, because now you're not seeing regular live pitching every single day. Now you're not up to speed. I mean, the moment David Schneider started to slump, what happened? Well, he went back on the bench. Then he's trying to get back in the lineup. That's tough. That's why he hit like 146 in September. I mean, granted, there could be some adjustments that were made to him, but as soon as he started struggling with all those guys in that depth spot, with Whit Merrifield there last year too, he lost his playing time, and look what happened. So it actually is kind of counterintuitive. I think you got to stick with like 2 guys at a position. I'm cool with that kind of competition if they're both like kind of equals,
dude. And if they both suck, screw it. Bring up the prospects.
Sure,
we got them at every position, basically. Like
exactly.
If literally David Schneider and Kevin Biggio were both bad at baseball this year, I know a guy who's pretty damn good. His name's Addison Barger. Shout out to Addison Barger, who's literally going to be coming onto the show tomorrow. It's pre-recorded. We recorded it a few days ago. We're going to be releasing that tomorrow morning, everybody. So 10 a.m., Addison Barger, top Toronto Blue Jays prospect. We get the lowdown with him. I saw an interesting question in the chat here saying, would you rather have IKF for $8 million and Soler for 15, or 23 for Bellinger? 15 and 8 do become 23.
Oh,
so it's like, would you rather pay those guys the exact same that you pay for Bellinger in 1 year, but you get 2 guys, or you just get Cody Bellinger for 23 million?
For me, it's obvious. It's Cody Bellinger, because I still disagree with the IKF signing because of so much. Literally what we're saying. We have 4 guys waiting in that depth spot for third base. Bring in an IKF, you can play. I know they want to play him more, but I really do think he deserves like a third of the playing time compared to like looking at his numbers and what he does defensively. He really doesn't deserve that much playing time. The only reason why he deserves that playing time is because he can pay the money. So screw paying him the money and give it to Cody Bellinger.
What realistically do you think? We could pull up his stats too if you need to reference. I'd probably need to reference as well. What realistically do you think his slash line is going to look like this year?
Yeah,
Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Like, what is we're being completely real, because I know that we're having a little bit of hate on him just because we don't understand the signing, right? But like, let's play devil's advocate here. There could also be a ceiling. I remember when we signed. I remember when we signed Marcus Semien. We were looking at his last year and going, "Oh, like he wasn't very good last year. He came to the Toronto Blue Jays, incredible."
Right, so, he also had some MVP potential, in years prior.
I'm just saying, let's play devil's advocate. Let's look at all of the stuff here, right? Like, what's a realistic expectation? You guys can play along too. What's a realistic thing for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa? We're gonna have this guy for 2 years. He's gonna play a major role. If we're believing what Ross Atkins has to say, he's gonna have a lot of reps at third. What are we gonna expect?
All right, well, looking at just his baseball reference, I'm pulling up his baseball savant here because maybe there's some hidden advanced statistics of some expected numbers that we're just not seeing. It's going to load up for a bit, but let's look at his first 6 years in the big leagues. His best year was in 2020, COVID year. Hit 699 OPS. His batting average is around the 261 for his career. Last year, he dipped underneath all those numbers. Yeah, he hit underneath an all batting average, on base, slugging, OPS. His OPS plus is 81. Honestly, a year like his career numbers of 261 batting average, on base of 314, OPS of 660. Maybe he gets lucky and pops like 5 or 6 home runs. I mean, looking over at his baseball reference.
5 or 6.
5 or 6, yeah. Literally, dude. I mean, look at expected slugging in the low percentile. He's good at not striking out, but really good at not striking out in 2022. But again, like,
but he also doesn't walk.
He doesn't walk though.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. You can. I think I remember saying this when we first signed him. You could foul off pitches all day until your bat breaks, but you got to put it in play eventually.
Eventually, we got to get somewhere here.
And hey, look, to his credit, expected batting average is pretty high. I could see him maybe at his ceiling doing like a 270, maybe 275, batting average. But at the end of the day, you're still going to be hitting in the OPS like around like high 600s. So, I mean, what's the difference between that and an Espinal?
Well, realistically, if I'm being honest, I think that Santiago Espinal has a higher ceiling.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And that's why
absolutely.
That's why I've never understood the signing, because I do think that when you look at Santiago Espinal's numbers, there's been stretches and periods of time, even an entire season before, where like
he was an all-star.
He was pretty good at baseball.
He was an all-star.
Yeah. Like he was pretty good at baseball for a time period. Not saying that that's what he's going to continue to do, but I don't know if Isaiah Kiner-Falefa has like ever been really good at baseball. Yes, he has a Gold Glove, which is great, and I'm all about it. But Santiago Espinal's been pretty good at defense too.
Yeah,
I'm just like, I think realistically, what you can expect from him is what he has done, and I would love to be totally wrong about this if he comes in and he can even give like a low 700 OPS.
Oh my!
I would feel great.
If he cracks 700 OPS, it's a win. It's a win because that's what I'm expecting Espinal to do. So it's a win. I just don't see it because I mean, look, you're gonna pay Espinal less money. You're gonna have him, I think, for about the same amount of time, if not maybe more. I think it's just the same amount of time, 2 years. You're gonna pay him less money. He's gonna give you maybe a little bit more on the projection and give you the roughly maybe competitive defense. Maybe Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, I'll give him some credit. Maybe he has better defense, but for what? For a difference of how much WAR? Not that much. I mean, what was his WAR last year? That's another thing I want to look at too. What was his WAR? He had a WAR of 0.1. A WAR of 0.1 in 113 games. You know what? I don't know Espinal's WAR, but
wow, dude, I just took in. He's got 26 homers on his career in 6 seasons.
Yeah, he doesn't hit home runs, and Espinal, in I think less playing time, 93 games had a WAR of 0.5. Yeah. So what the hell are we doing? That's why it makes no sense. Bro.
Yeah, no, it's never really.
It's never made sense.
Really?
Like, I know we want to convince ourselves, and again, I'm down for being wrong, like Nick's saying.
Yeah.
I just would never spend $15 million on this. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I'm convinced as well. Cycling back to that question, I also take Bellinger because, now again, like looking at this again, it's tough. It's tough, folks. It's tough.
Makes sense.
Let's talk about Hyun-Jin Ryu for a second, everybody. Hyun-Jin Ryu, former Toronto Blue Jay, came in at the end of last year. He played pretty well. I was thinking that he was potentially going to stay in the MLB. Like, he'd earned himself another MLB contract. What's going on with Hyun-Jin Ryu?
Yeah, I mean, Hyun-Jin Ryu, John, here he is again. Is this the only guy tweeting in the last, 24 hours?
Feels that way.
Feels that way. John Rossi saying, free agent left-handed pitcher Hyun-Jin Ryu, 36, is ramping up his throwing progression during off-season workouts in South Korea. There were some talks whether he was going to play another year in the MLB, because he also mentioned he did want to go and retire in South Korea. However, it looks like potentially maybe he's progressing in a positive way for the MLB. Could be for South Korea too. Could be for the KBO. You never know. He also mentions the stats. He had a 3.46 ERA for the Blue Jays. Any chance he comes back to MLB or maybe even the Blue Jays? Like, have you thought about that at all? I mean, I've been kind of off.
I think that Hyun-Jin Ryu should stay in the MLB because I think that he's earned himself at least $1, $2, $3, $4 million.
At least
what he did last year. I think that he's earned himself just a few more $1 million. And you know what, dude? While you still got it, you might as well squeeze it out. Yeah. And then you can go retire rich, right? So if I was him, I would get a 1 year or 2 year deal, lock it in, give myself a little bit extra cushion when it's time for retirement. I don't think it's going to be in the Toronto Blue Jays, though. They made it pretty clear what their pitching rotation is going to be if or when they signed Yariel Rodriguez, that was your Hyun-Jin Ryu guy. That was the dude. And if they are going to be converting him to a starter, there's just simply no room at all. If you brought in Hyun-Jin Ryu, then immediately, I don't even make a video about Hyun-Jin Ryu coming back. My immediate thought process is, where is Alek Manoah getting traded? Who is he going to? When's the deal going to happen? Because if you bring in any other starting pitcher to this team, someone's got to go.
Like, essentially, that 5th spot in the rotation, as much as I want to say, yeah, we're locking him in, because Ross Atkins said, yeah, he's going to be competing for a spot, and he's got confidence in him. What if he sucks? What if he's just not the same as he was before, for whatever reason, and that reality, it's a reality. Yeah, I mean, then it's got some question marks, and then maybe the Hyun-Jin Ryu signing makes a lot of sense. But if you're really hoping that Yariel Rodriguez and Alek Manoah is going to be competing for that spot, why add a third guy in the mix at the end of his career? Yeah, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
No, dude, the Ryu signing would just be the IKF signing, but for pitchers.
It just doesn't make any sense.
It's just we're doing the same thing, but like in the so maybe in that regard, maybe it is possible.
Maybe
because we've already fucking done it for the third base bag, so maybe we'll do it again, but for starting pitching because like literally it makes no sense. Quick shout out here to Michael, Skid the Management. If you guys is Profilin. I don't know.
I'm not sure what that is saying.
Shout out to Michael Goodrich right there for the dono, dude. Respect. Respect, everybody. Respect. Let's take a look, guys. Finish this thing off by looking at the MLB win totals, guys. I put this out at the beginning of the chat. I asked you folks, how many games do you think the Toronto Blue Jays are going to win this year? 40% of you think it's going to be between 88 wins and 94 wins, whereas 33% of you think it's going to be between 80 wins and 87 wins. That is the largest percentiles. And then you're split. You got a few people split that we're going to be really popping off over 95 wins. And then 16% of people thinking that we are just going to suck this year. We're going to go below 500. So I specifically made it a little bit smaller because it does feel like we're probably going to be within 80 and 94 wins. But there's a big difference between winning 80 games and there's a big difference between winning 94 games.
Yeah.
What does the line say and what are your thoughts on where we're going to finish this season off?
So a general just betting playbook says 86.5 is the line. You're kind of seeing those lines start to slowly come out. Different playbooks have different lines, of course, but 86.5 feels to be the consensus for the Toronto Blue Jays, and honestly, that does feel like a very good line. Right now, looking at what our offseason has become, I mean, we kind of got a little worse with the roster, and we won 89 last year. Yeah, and that feels pretty good. Like, I want to say and hope that the guys are going to bounce back, and that's hope talking. So I feel like the fan in me wants to go over 86.5, 87, 88. Like, I think we're going to be there. So yeah, I am going to go slightly over, and I do think this offseason isn't over. I think we're going to bring in one more bat. If we do that, then yes, absolutely, I would hit that over. What about you? What are your kind of thoughts?
It's like 87 wins really isn't that many, And again, this is somebody talking. This is somebody who's talking about who's never played a single inning in the MLB, but so obviously I know that it's very difficult to win at the professional level. But yeah, 87 games, you literally don't even make playoffs, right? That's only, 5 games over 500? 6 games over 500? 81?
It might be a little bit more because of the lower loss. Oh, God. The math can't do
whatever.
Can't do the math.
It's not that many. It's really not that many. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like my margin is always like, if you win over 90 games, you are a pretty good team. If you win over 95 games, you're a great team. If you win over 100 games, you're an excellent team. But if you win over, if you go between that 85 and 90 mark, it's like you're like you are a hopeful team.
12 games. 12 games over 500.
12 games.
12 games.
Okay,
yeah. 6 up, 6 down.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. You're right. Okay. So that's a little bit more than what I was initially thinking. But
imagine being mid, because like most of the time for the Blue Jays the last few years, we're always been around like the mid part of the season. We're always flirting around that like we're 10 games over mark. So imagine just never getting better than that. Just staying at that level.
Yeah.
It could happen.
Yeah. 100% it could happen. I mean, I think it's a good line. I do think that I feel like I gotta say over for it as well. It's just like, again, like the number 87 to me feels so achievable, and if you're not getting 87, like we are in dire straits.
And we're fixated a lot on that offense, dude. If the offense just fixed the runners in scoring position and if that runners in scoring position was just average with our pitching, we're smashing.
Well, that's the thing. You know, I feel like everybody is so down right now on the Toronto Blue Jays because we had the pitching last year. They all popped off, and it still didn't work. And that is the scary part. Because you go, oh my God, guys, like we literally had it, you know, like we were. How often are you gonna have that?
Yeah,
we had it, and it still didn't work, and that is a scary place to be. But if we have it again, the offense can't be that bad.
No. I mean, if you told me like you're gonna have the best pitching these 2 years, and you know, like I don't know, like can you win 87 games? I'm doing it.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gotta go over.
I feel like the pitching staff alone brings you into that low 90 mark, you know? Because we had, again, with the best pitching staff, you know, that pitching staff brought us there. Yeah. You know?
I think about the Brewers, who never really had a great offense ever. No. And they almost manage.
They always find a way.
They manage.
They always find a way.
They manage.
You know? So, yeah, I think I'd go over as well, everybody, but, like, we're going, like, maybe just over, folks. We're going, like, just over.
Well, that's it, guys, for today's Blue Jays Today show. A lot of the same kind of conversation, but I'm hoping to God that there's a transaction soon. We have about 2.5 weeks until spring training starts, so hopefully we'll have some kind of fun videos, some fun podcasts, maybe a couple of actual signings happening for the Toronto Blue Jays. So you guys, if you want to stay up to date with all the Toronto Blue Jays news, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Blue Jays Today, guys.
Shout out to all of our Patreon members and YouTube members too. All of you guys are so appreciated. Thanks so much for watching, everybody.
And as always, go Jays, go!